ultimately it's like what makes us wealthy is being able to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we need each other to take
Mm-hmm.
care of ourselves. And there's so many people on the planet right now that we have a ton of resource
Mm-hmm.
in terms of everybody's collective knowledge, and it's trying to figure out how to organize that and give people agency so that they can do what they're good at.
Agency.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know what I'm just trying. Like there are certain little things that like the thing is like how do you get agency?
I mean, well, I think that some of it is claiming it for yourself, and then some of it is being recognized, you know, and recognizing the agency in others. And I don't think that they can happen without the other. So and this is the thing about like there are people that have billions of dollars and they're poor, you know, they're just fucking miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I like, for me to feel like I have agency and that I feel empowered in myself, ultimately I have to feel that way about you. You know, like if I'm seeking to control you and seeking to feel better than you, that reflects a deeper insecurity on my part.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't actually be free. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
spending my time trying to figure out how I'm better than you and
Mm-hmm.
how to like blow me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I think that like awakening is figuring out like how to feel comfortable in who you are, how to feel that you do have agency, you can make your own choices, and that's really different for everybody depending on the context that they're in. You know, and everyone is dealing with different kinds of oppression, but everyone's dealing with it. And so when we can like wake up to freedom in ourselves, we can give that to each other. But it requires like getting over immense amounts of insecurity, I think.
Well, it's interesting because so you're saying there's a correlation between like a person can't give themselves agency. Are you saying that it requires someone else to agree with?
No, I think that a person can give themselves agency, and that in turn will reflect to their relationships. But to give yourself agency, you have to give other people agency. And for it to be a sustainable thing, we have to give it to each other.
Okay, well, what about giving agency to people who don't want it?
Yeah, I think that that's probably like the vast majority, at least of, I don't know. I mean, I think it's easy to go with the program, you know, and like not make your own choices and to eat whatever people tell you to eat and watch TV and run the program, you know, like run the program.
But do you okay? For instance, with like eating what other people tell you to eat and everything, like the thing is like this to me. This is kind of to me. This is only me existing in this bubble right here. Like, who's telling me what to eat?
Marketing, you know, what's being sold to you, what's available.
Okay, so who isn't aware that marketing exists at this point?
A lot of people. A lot of people.
I don't know.
No.
I'm not sure about that.
States recently, I don't know how it is over there in Europe where,
I lived in the U.S. for a long time. What are you talking about?
What do you know? People like you get marketed to, but then also it's like, what resources do folks have? You know, like, I don't know. When like to get out of that system as well, like to be able to choose healthy food for your family and not buy the shit, like I mean, it's more expensive, which is crazy, you know, and to be able to grow your own food requires a certain set of circumstances. And Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are aware, but then a lot of people are still not aware, you know? Like, it's like people buy into the same shit. They keep buying it. And consumers can ask for other choices. And some people are, you know, like that's starting. And I think that's how business is starting to shift. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel, I kind of feel like people, I don't know. If this was 97 or 87, I would say, okay, yeah, this, you have a point. But I think in 2017, it's, I don't think people, there's not someone who has come across the information about how bad certain foods or how bad certain behaviors are. And then at a certain point, people make a choice. I mean, I think people do have, whether they realize it or not, they do have agency to make certain
sure.
choices. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know of anyone who isn't aware that there are certain things like they're not going to be good for you to, you know, I mean, if you're living in America and you can see the obesity crisis that we're going through and all the obesity related diseases, I can tell you that I've had many conversations with people on food, right? Like, and the importance of food quality and, you know, and it's not that they're not aware, it's that they don't want to.
Want to. Yeah, sure.
Right. And
Well, so yeah,
I don't
I
know
need
that
to
I
get
could put
over my
this.
idea of what agency looks like because you're right. Like people do. I mean, I think people do get to have they do choose on some level, but then there's also like there's I guess there's also the choosing to not choose. Like when you're like, well, it's just easier to go this way. Like if that's the dominant trend, why fight it?
Well, yes, to me, this is exactly what we're talking about. Like people who don't want agency. That's exactly the point. There's like people who don't want agency, and this is why you can have there's like these how you can shift in and out of wanting agency, and this is how like little subcultures form. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's everywhere. I mean, like you think about relationships, you know, and like the way that it's so easy to be in any kind of relationship and be like, oh, you made me do that thing. Like you did this thing and it made me feel this way. And then I had to react the way that I did. I had no other choice.
right.
You know, like it's like people get into really entwined codependent relationships all the time, everywhere. And the idea that they could choose differently is deeply distressing. You know, it's like if you don't make that choice, you might be irrelevant. You know, your person you're in relationship with might leave, like, or who knows what. You know, to make that same choice all the time to be in it's comfortable,
right?
And yeah, I mean, I think that like people, I don't know. I mean, this is yoga. Like this is like the philosophy that underlies yoga.
Okay.
You know, it's like how do we liberate ourselves from habit, basically.
Okay.
Whether it's in your body, you know, your posture, how you choose to stand, sit, walk, what you do with your breath, like that's all habitual. You know, the ways that your mind goes in circles all the time, you know, those just running thought loops and like, oh, when someone speaks in that tone of voice, immediately like this thing comes up or whatever, you know, and we're unaware of it. And so on a certain level, yeah, we all have agency to make conscious choices, but on a different level, all of us don't have agency when we're living from the subconscious or unconscious programs. And
Okay.
wake up to those programs is like not going to happen in a lifetime. You know, it's like a constant kind of.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like, well, but we also know that it can be done because we see all kinds of people who do it, right?
Do we?
And this is what I mean, kind of about history in a way, because I think the past can take away your perception of the past, can take away your agency or whatever. Because if you have a child or whatever, and you make it important that they know that these people or these ancestors of these people who exist today were like did this to people, to our ancestors, right? Now those ancestors don't live now, right?
Right.
Very
Yeah.
few of them live now, but we've already given them this, we've given these children the seeds of a problem that if we kind of were a little bit more careful about how we presented these things, or put things into context of the present, that we might have a better chance of moving forward. But if if I hear my father tell a story about like something that happened to him as a kid based
Right.
upon what some other person looked like, and then I take this and like, oh, people that look like this are like this, then how can we move? Like, how can we move like this? Like, we're just continuing, we're continuing the problem, and then it's like, that's what I mean about like how it applies to like agency, because then you put someone in the mind state that like, now I am oppressed. You've made me aware that I'm oppressed now by these nameless, shapeless shadows. And then what do you like? What can the one human being do with
Right.
this knowledge? Like, you know what I mean? Like, then it becomes about like how strong is your will to overcome, or like, or to say this exists, but I'm not going to react this way or feel this way.
I mean, what you're talking about is biological function. You know, like we have evolved based on survival skills, you know? And so like if your ancestors learned that, you know, tigers were going to eat them, they're going to teach that to their kids because they're like, dude, if you want to survive, you got to run from that guy. And like and you know, like in terms of physiology, like